Okay, everyone. This is Sarah. She is our November member highlight of the month. And so, Sarah,
Do the
I
Zoom wave.
yeah, exactly. Um, I really, was inspired by your Pacific Crest Trail trip that you took. And so, let's go ahead and start with maybe how long you've been diagnosed with Parkinson's, a little bit about yourself, and maybe when you started Rogue, and then we can get into some of those details. Is that okay?
Sure, sure.
All right.
My name is Sarah Eitzman. I am from Mountain View, California. I was diagnosed in 2014. I am a retired pediatrician. I run a women's support group for Parkinson's. And the trip that Jamie is talking about is the Pacific Crest Trail. Trip that I took this summer, and I also did one last summer too. And there is a group that's called Pass to Pass, which is a nonprofit which provides llama support for people with Parkinson's so that you can hike with less of a load. And so specifically for people who've had DBS, which I haven't had, but there were definitely people on our trip who had DBS. They can't have a lot of pressure on their shoulders because of like where the lead is. And so they get their packs down to like less than 15 pounds, which is great, you know. And so this whole llama thing helps people like that. And also people like me, who've got a little bit of, arthritis going on, to continue backpacking. So it was just like awesome.
So how many like days was the trip? Like how long were you out there? Give us some details like that. What did you have to go up and down, bushwhacking kind of things? And what did you have to
No,
do?
no bushwhacking. We had both trips that I went on were 5 days. So this most recent trip was 5 days. So you're on the trail. You have your tent. You have to put up your tent. You have to, cook your freeze dried food. Or some people actually even brought like lentils and beans and things like that they actually made in camp, which is pretty ambitious. But my husband and I did freeze dried food.
I would too.
Yeah. It's a lot lighter, let me tell you. And so for 5 days, we did that. And it was just like awesome this past year. There were no bugs. We camped every night, like on a lake. So if you wanted to, you could go swimming. The llamas were super happy because they had like these meadows next to the lakes. And when you hike with a group of llamas, it's like they are like the superstars, like everybody wants to have their picture taken with them. They are the nicest animals. So it was just like a really fun experience.
That sounds cool. And it sounds like your husband went with you. So is it
Yeah.
like you and like a care partner, or like how does that work? And how big was the group?
Okay. Our group was like 11 people, I think, altogether. So the people with Parkinson's will get one support hiker, and that can be your care partner. And your care, if it's, or I don't call my husband a care partner, I just call him my husband.
Husband.
Um, so they have to take a full pack. But you, as a person with Parkinson's, don't have to take a full pack. You can take a less. So I think my pack was like 15 to 20 pounds, but you can go down to 15 pounds or 10 pounds. I think some of the people were hiking with pretty light packs.
That's cool. And so
Yeah.
I guess like, that begs the question, I guess, how many miles per day? So 5, days, how many miles per day? What did you do to prepare for it? And how did Rogue hopefully help you prepare for it?
Oh, okay. Rogue. Well, yeah, that was one of your questions, I guess, was like, what has improved since I started exercise? So I started exercise pretty much day one. I found out I had Parkinson's. I figured out like, the only thing that's really been shown to slow progression is exercise. And I would say the cardio is the thing for me. And I do a lot of cardio. Like I went hiking this morning, but I also do a lot of stationary bike stuff. And then I do the road cardio. Bye bye. Sorry.
That's okay.
So basically I do a lot of cardio, and I think that's the thing that really helps me. I mean, it's like you can train by just walking, but like the cardio is the thing that gets you, through the hills and stuff like that. So I'll tell you what we did on the two trips that I went on. The cool thing about Pass to Pass is that they have all these different levels of hikes. So for people with Parkinson's who can't backpack, they have day hikes
Oh,
that are close to Mount Rainier. They also have like if for these people who are young onset diagnosis and in awesome shape, those people hike the John Muir Trail and they do like an 8 or 9 day hike without llamas.
oh my gosh. That's a
Yeah,
lot
so
more
they're
for
taking
any typical like middle-aged kind of person. And I'm not really middle-aged even, but that I can probably say that might be a lot for me too.
yeah, that's daunting for me. But so basically, so they've got all these levels of hikes. So the ones that I went on are like I would call them moderate hikes, So you're getting, if you have Parkinson's, you're getting help by not having to take the full load. You're only going, well, it's between 3 to 8 miles a day. You average like 5 miles a day. But the change in elevation can be more than 1,000 feet. So, you have to be ready for that.
Yeah. So did you train for that? Like, so you said you did the cardio. And so like, and you live, you said in
Mountain View.
Mountain View. Yes. And so I would
So
imagine, there is some elevation changes. Like, do you do that daily? Do you do all of those things? Like, what does that
well, I
look
definitely do that when I hike. So I hike in the hills, but
like? Mhm.
like I was really worried the first time I went. So what I did was I, I went on a couple of like weekend backpacking trips with my husband to make sure he could do it too. And to make sure that our equipment, because you have to bring your own equipment. I mean, Pass to Pass will loan you stuff like down sleeping bags and a tent if you don't have it. But we wanted to have our own gear. So we like made sure that we took our gear out, that everything worked and that we could like, actually make the freeze dried food and eat it. We had to try it out, because like you don't want the first time that you ever eat like this meal be like when you're starving and you've had like you know what I mean. So, anyways,
Get it. I
we
get it.
so we did that. And then I said, oh no, we have to do it at elevation. So we did a weekend hike where we went to Desolation Wilderness, which is in Northern California. And it's like at 6,000 feet, which is for the hikes that I went on with Pass to Pass, 6,000 feet was kind of like the average elevation. So that's a little bit of a challenge for some people. That adds like an extra level of cardiovascular work. And then when we went on our little weekend hike at elevation, it rained, which, like where I live in Northern California, it doesn't rain in the summer. But so this was awesome. So we put our tent up in the rain. I found out my rain jacket didn't work. And, I got to build a little trench around the tent and all that stuff. I mean, it was great. It was like a challenge.
It is. And I feel like, it is so amazing. Like I think you said the right words. It was a challenge. And I'm so amazed that you continuously challenge yourself to do it. Like you said, this is the second time you've done it. And I do feel like, a lot of our members really can use that inspiration to keep trying and doing challenging things. You know what, Sarah, I didn't actually ask you, and I don't think I've ever asked you before. You said you were a retired pediatrician, but how old are you?
I'm 62.
So you're 62. So you got your diagnosis, I think you said 2014. So almost like 10 years ago. So around 53. Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you started exercising right away.
Yeah.
Did you like start off with? And then obviously Rogue in Motion didn't start until 2020. When did you find us?
Oh, I think I found you probably you started in 2020. I think I found you pretty quickly. So I found you out about you guys through my support group. So I run a women's support group, and there are just some people in the support group who are super, active and like looking for the best this and that and everything. And when I found Rogue, like I had done different there are other sort of physical therapist run programs. The thing I like about Rogue is the high intensity.
So like, did you feel that maybe the other programs weren't as challenging and giving you that right amount of like intensity to be able to push yourself?
Exactly.
Okay. Very good, very good. I'm glad that we're able to do that for you. What we do try to have different levels of kinds of, different things. So which classes then do you do at Rogue or?
So I do the high intensity interval training. So
Mm-hmm.
that's and I do that a couple of days a week. I'm not always on the live virtual classes because it doesn't always line up with what I'm doing that day. So
Okay.
then I'll do the recorded class.
And then how about for cardio? So you mentioned you do use our cardio classes sometimes. What does that look like? Once a week or something?
The cardio actually I do on my own, I'll be
Uh,
honest. I
okay.
do Peloton and they have like this one thing called Power Zone, which is basically your coach to go hard.
Cool.
So
Okay, good. And
yeah.
then do you do, well, I mean, I know you do boxing because you do my boxing class,
Right, right,
the
right. Yeah.
boxing class. And then do you do power moves ever?
I do that occasionally. I'll be honest, I typically do it when I'm injured.
Okay. I don't know
But
if
I
I'm
feel like
okay with that.
but I feel like the high intensity, you do some power moves, right?
We do, but it's very few. I will say, what are your, I guess, main symptoms of Parkinson's? Like one, like how did you know, or maybe like to ask the neurologist, like, I feel like I'm experiencing these things. I want to take a look at those things, or whatever.
My main symptoms, I would say, well, when it started, it was my right hand. So that's my dominant hand, which is kind of tough, to have that be where you have your big tremor and your stiffness and your pain and everything. So that, once I started on medication, that got better. And then it progressed to my right leg. I have a little bit of tremor and stiffness there too. But if I'm on, I do pretty well. So sort of, I would say kind of what I'm trying to do is I like to do the big movements. So power moves, I think, is good for that, the
Mhm,
PWR
mhm.
stuff, because it gets you to go through, like using your arms, putting them above your head, making sure your shoulder isn't, I've had frozen shoulder before. So those are always good moves. And then I think resistance training is an important thing that I have neglected previously, and I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but I ended up with like
Trigger
I
finger.
think I told you about this,
Yeah.
like a trigger finger, because I was gripping too hard, and also probably because I wasn't totally on
Yeah.
when I was lifting. And I think you need to be on with your medications if you
Yeah.
take them.
I guess like talking about that. Yeah. Like, I guess something that we've talked about before in some of these member highlights, is really optimizing medication. And so, some of the pillars that I feel like are so important with Parkinson's are exercise, medication, and also nutrition. And so, do you utilize any of our educational videos? We put on some, I feel like pretty informative videos. So I was just asking, just want to know, do you use any of those educational videos?
I look at the recipes, but I don't watch the videos, I'll be honest, just because I don't know.
That's okay.
I spend too much time in front of the computer and I'm trying to limit that.
But yeah, you
But I
have
think it's
access
a
to the recipes, which is great.
Right, right, right. And I think that is a really important thing. And I'm going to probably get a little too detailed, but it gets harder, I think, as you progress in your Parkinson's sometimes, because the protein interacts with your absorption of the dopamine. So you're taking Cinnamate or you're taking Ritori, one of those medications, and then you eat this high protein meal and it's like, oh, I didn't take my medication. No, I did take my medication. It just didn't absorb. So that you have to balance that, I think. And, it's good to have options.
Yeah, and so I don't know if we've talked about this before, but we do recommend actually people taking their medication one on an empty stomach. You can add like some acid to help kind of digest that a little bit more. So you can use like lemon juice or lime juice, kind of just to take it down, and then wait 30 minutes and then eat your meal, and that will help to optimize your medication.
Yeah, no, those are great points. And I think that it's just sort of like as you sort of try to work different ways of optimizing your medication, you figure that out. But it is nice to have somebody who can give you that information.
Yeah. And then, I don't think I've ever talked to you about, I didn't know you belonged to like a women's group and led a women's group. Do
Yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about that? I think that's really
Sure, sure. So the women's group that I coordinate is in the Palo Alto area. That's kind of south of San Francisco. We did predominantly Zoom meetings during the pandemic, but we're trying to do face-to-face meetings now, just because I feel like the face-to-face interaction is much more powerful thing than the Zoom. I mean, though, here I am on a Zoom. I think Zoom is great, but
I
limited.
agree. That's why we have our in-person membership and we, love
Right.
and adore our in-person members. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then I have one more question or a couple more questions, I guess. Is there anything that you feel that you were not able to do before beginning with Rogue and then has like maybe changed or gotten better since joining with Rogue?
I think it's mainly just maintaining my range of motion for my shoulders. And yeah, I feel like Rogue is just a really good all around program. And
Okay.
I would say that like when I go on vacation, like I went this summer, I went to Europe for 3 weeks and I didn't do I did some videos, but not a lot. And I feel like I was a little bit tighter when I came back than when I left.
Yeah, and I feel like, me when you said it, well, first thing was maintaining, and I think maintaining is winning, right? Parkinson's is
Yeah.
a progressive disease, so maintaining is a 100% positive, great thing. The thing about vacations, yes. So yeah, I do think, having kind of that realization, it's nice to know, like, oh, okay, yeah, I do it, and then it's like I'm okay, and then it's like, oh, I went a few weeks without it. Okay, that maybe did make a difference, and maybe I do really need this, every day or however often you're, coming in. And then I guess is there any words of encouragement or any words you like to live by, for people with Parkinson's or just in general, I feel like.
I think people should look for things that they'd like to do that get them out, that get them active, that get them with other people and do them, find what you like because then you're more likely to do it.
I agree. That is basically why we exist. Like, we know that it's not just to come in and, hey, exercise with us. It's like you come in because you want to go on a hike with your husband, because you want to play with your grandchildren, because you want to continue doing all the hobbies that you have, and you want to be able to do them as best as you can. So, yeah, well, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate your
Oh,
time.
there's one other thing I wanted to tell you.
Yeah.
Pass to Pass has a Southern California chapter.
Okay. Do you know
And
the
I
for
tried to
Star?
send you the link for two hikes that they're going to have. I think one is Joshua Tree,
Okay.
and that's just day hikes and car camping. And then the other one is a backpacking trip at Catalina Island.
Oh, that'll be fun. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
I will look for that and then maybe we can send that out with the member highlight so that way some of our members can see that. I mean, our in-person members really, because our online members, I don't know how relevant that would be either, but is there, I guess, excuse me, do they exist in like, do you know if there's other chapters around
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's a
okay.
New England chapter. There is an Oregon chapter. There's a Washington chapter, clearly, because that's where most of the hikes happen. There's also a Colorado and a Utah chapter.
Okay, so you can pretty much like look up Pass to Pass and you can look up those different things and find that information there.
Yes, yes. And physical therapists are really welcome on these hikes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've always wanted to do like a backpacking trip in Catalina. So I'm like, oh, that sounds like fun just for me to do. But honestly, it would be something I have to train for, literally train for. Like, I don't feel like I am in this shape, to be able to carry around a 25-pound pack, like that's a lot of work. And so I'm like I said, I'm very impressed with you. And that is why I really wanted to do the member highlight with you. I found you very inspiring. So yeah, thank you so much for joining with me on Zoom today. And then let me know, yeah, if you have anything else to add.
No, I think that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Sarah. We'll see
Oh,
you.
you're welcome. All right. We'll see you
See you.
in class.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.